the fascinating and forgotten nicknames of U.S. states. Welcome back to Unveiled Facts Info. Today we're diving into a fascinating piece of American history, state nicknames. But not just the ones you already know. We're talking about lost nicknames, unusual origins, and the stories behind them. Did you know Arkansas was once called the Toothpick State, or that Missouri is the Show Me State because a congressman basically said, "I don't believe anything until I see it"? Every state has a nickname, but where did they come from? Let's go through all 50 states alphabetically and uncover their most interesting, surprising, and sometimes bizarre names. Alabama, the Yellowhammer State. Our journey starts with Alabama. Today, it's mostly called the Heart of Dixie, but its original nickname, the Yellowhammer State, came from Civil War soldiers who wore bright yellow trim on their uniforms. Imagine an entire troop dressed like stylish little birds. Alaska, the last frontier. Alaska's nickname is self-explanatory. It's vast, wild, and still has areas unexplored. But did you know it's both the northernmost and easternmost U.S. state? Thanks to how the Aleutian Islands cross the international dateline, part of Alaska actually extends east of the rest of the country. Arizona, the Grand Canyon State. Not much mystery here. Arizona is home to one of the world's most famous natural wonders, the Grand Canyon. But fun fact, for a short time Arizona was almost nicknamed the Sand Hill State, which doesn't quite have the same ring to it. Arkansas, the natural state. Today, Arkansas is the natural state because of its mountains, forests, and rivers, but originally, it was called the Toothpick State. Not because of actual toothpicks, but because men used to carry large knives, sometimes called toothpicks, as weapons. That's one way to make a statement. California, the Golden State. California is still known as the Golden State, thanks to the 1849 gold rush. But did you know that in the late 1800s, some maps referred to it as the land of sunshine, fruits, and flowers? A little long-winded, but it does sound nice. Colorado, the Centennial State. Colorado became a state exactly 100 years after the signing of the Declaration of Independence. Hence, the Centennial State. No controversy here, just some good old-fashioned patriotic timing. Connecticut, the Constitution State. Now this one's interesting. Connecticut claims to be the Constitution State because of a document written there in the 1600s. But the U.S. Constitution was actually written in Pennsylvania. Awkward. They also go by the Nutmeg State because early settlers were so crafty they tricked people into buying fake wooden nutmegs. Delaware, the first state. This one is straightforward. Delaware was the first colony to ratify the U.S. Constitution. But Thomas Jefferson also called it the Diamond State because of its prime location. Who knew Delaware was so valuable? Florida, the Sunshine State. Florida calls itself the Sunshine State, but surprisingly, it's not the sunniest. That title goes to Arizona. Still, when people think of Florida, they picture beaches and theme parks, not meteorological data. Georgia, the Peach State. Despite the name, peaches aren't Georgia's biggest crop. The nickname actually came from a 19th century effort to rebrand the South away from cotton, which had ties to slavery. Farmers saw peaches as a more refined alternative. Hawaii, the Aloha State. More than just a greeting, aloha represents hospitality, unity, and the Hawaiian way of life. It literally translates to the presence of breath, a poetic way of describing life itself. Idaho, the Gem State. Idaho is famous for its gemstones, but the name Idaho itself was once falsely claimed to mean gem of the mountains in a Native American language. Turns out, someone just made that up. Illinois, the Prairie State. Before Chicago dominated the landscape, Illinois was covered in tallgrass prairies, giving it this natural nickname. Indiana, the Hoosier State. No one really knows where Hoosier came from. Some say it started with settlers calling out, "Who's here?" Others think it referred to tough rivermen known for brawling. Either way, it stuck. Iowa, the Hawkeye State. Inspired by a fictional character from The Last of the Mohicans, this nickname has nothing to do with actual hawks. Kansas, the Sunflower State. Simple and to the point, sunflowers grow wild across Kansas. Kentucky, the Bluegrass State. Fun fact, bluegrass isn't actually blue. It just looks bluish in certain lighting. Early settlers named it after the vast pastures of this unique grass. Louisiana, the Pelican State, named after the brown pelican which appears on the state flag. But older maps referred to it as the Creole State, highlighting its rich blend of French, Spanish, and African cultures. Maine, the Pine Tree State. With over 80% of its land covered in forest, Maine's nickname makes total sense. Maryland, the Old Line State and the Free State. Maryland troops were called the Old Line by George Washington for their bravery. Meanwhile, the Free State came from abolishing slavery in 1864. Massachusetts, the Bay State. With bays like Cape Cod and Massachusetts Bay, this one's a no-brainer. Michigan, the Wolverine State. Despite the name, Michigan doesn't have many Wolverines. It comes from either its fur trade history or a rivalry with Ohio, where Ohioans called Michiganders vicious Wolverines during a border dispute. Minnesota, the North Star State. Minnesota is the northernmost state in the continental U.S., making the North Star a fitting choice. Mississippi, the Magnolia State. Named after the beautiful magnolia trees that thrive there. Missouri, the Show Me State. This famous phrase came from a skeptical congressman who insisted, "I'm from Missouri, you have to show me." From the Peace Garden state of North Dakota to the Equality state of Wyoming, every state has a story behind its nickname. Some are obvious, some are misleading, and some, like the Toothpick State, are just plain weird. Which state nickname is your favorite? Would you change any of them? Let me know in the comments. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more fascinating facts from Unveiled Facts Info. See you next time.